Greetings from Gettysburg Lab for Experimental Economics, or as we call it, GLE, at Gettysburg College in Pennsylvania. Today, I would like to talk to you about experimental economics and how it could be used to inform regulation policy. I'm going to build on the video that Ray has posted that summarizes 5 prisms that we usually think about at IRLE. And the topic that I'm going to cover today mostly falls under the 3rd prism, which can be called new institutional economics. It's the part of economics that realizes that people might be irrational, not always perfectly optimizing because of the time constraints or other bounded rationality aspects. We might be making decisions too quickly using heuristics because it's cheaper, it's more convenient. When we have all that in mind, what does that mean for the regulatory policies or structures that we implement in the industries that are network-based with high fixed costs, low marginal costs, and things like that? So let me start with an example of a very interesting case. A Swiss company, Swisscom, it's a telecommunication company in Switzerland, has recently saved almost $10 million in late fees, in collecting unpaid bills, and they managed to do that with improved customer satisfaction. And managed to do that with collecting the money that people are due earlier than before. So how is this possible? And they've done that by hiring experimental economists, by employing the methods and insights that stem from behavioral economics. So this new institutional economics and an area of behavioral economics that falls under it. We've been talking about that IRLE quite a bit. A Nobel laureate who got the recognition through experimental economics, Vernon Smith, has been a great patron of IRLE. In fact, he has been a researcher that used experimental economics and behavioral insights in the development of wholesale power market design at early stages of the development. And so we are very happy to bring this perspective to you as well. When we think about experimental economics, it usually entails 2 types of experiments: laboratory experiments and field experiments. Laboratory experiments are experiments that are conducted in the labs, just like this. Here you see stations with dividers, so participants cannot see each other. In the back, you see the observation room. At Gettysburg, we use this facility to conduct research, but when we don't need that, we transform into the classroom facility. So in a lab, we create virtual economies where we induce values, induce costs, we know what information participants receive. And in that controlled environment, by varying one thing at a time, we can see how outcomes change. And another group of experiments is field experiments, where you conduct pilots, trials in a more natural environment with usually participants, customers that will be affected by decisions, but it's still done in a way that is controlled to get more clean insights about the policy, about the decision, about the market structure that you might want to implement. So when we do these experiments, what are we trying to accomplish? And there are 2 areas where we normally try to play. One is theories, to test existing theories that stem from economics, maybe other disciplines, and see whether in a controlled environment, the predictions hold, right? So that's what Ray calls blackboard economics, predictions, theories. We want to test it with actual humans making the decisions. In some cases, they hold even without the certain assumptions that underlie the developed theories. And in some cases, they fail even with all the prerequisites that theory suggests should exist. Another area where we try to use experiments is to develop new insights, to gather the evidence, to gather new data, and develop new theories. And that's usually done in the cases where the evidence gathering is very expensive, in some cases even impossible in real life, because, for example, some of those market structures might not exist, environments might not exist, or it would be very, very difficult to conduct a real life experiment to see whether our insights, gut feeling holds up. So keeping that in mind, where have we seen experimental economics applications in the network industries or the power sector more closely? It has been used mostly in checking whether different auction types, different market structures produce the result that we expect them to produce. And it's useful because the alternatives and propositions in some cases are numerous, and it allows us to differentiate between those alternatives. Also, trying to understand the strategic behavior, behavioral tendencies, regularities, information asymmetry effects in those complex network industry environments. We've looked at that as well through experiments. In some cases, you get insights that allow us to pick an option that creates a equal play field for the market participants, and some of those informational asymmetries might not matter as much if the market mechanism or institutional setup is done a certain way. So has the world used this method to inform policy so far? Or is this just an academic exercise? And the answer is the world has used. And I would